Welcome everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation on essential words for IELTS Writing Task 1. Today, we'll focus on mastering graph vocabulary to help improve your writing. The title of our session is Mastering Graph Vocabulary, and we'll explore keywords and phrases to describe different types of data. Over the next few slides, I'll share useful language tips and strategies to make your descriptions clear and effective. Let's get started. Let's consider the question at the top. Which type of visual data do you find hardest to describe? This is a common challenge because visual data can take many forms, from graphs and charts to diagrams. As you can see, we must move beyond simple words like go up and go down. Using more varied, precise, and sophisticated vocabulary is absolutely crucial if you want to achieve a high score. Remember, in IELTS Writing Task 1, you're required to describe visual data effectively. This means you need to develop your language skills to convey trends, relationships, and patterns clearly and accurately. The key message here is the power of precision. Being specific and nuanced in your descriptions makes your writing more compelling and easier to understand. So, mastering this skill will not only help you succeed in IELTS, but also improve your overall ability to communicate complex information clearly. As can be seen from the graph, the change in global coffee consumption from 2000 to 2020 shows some interesting trends. All right, now I want you to take a piece of paper and quickly sketch out a line graph for each of these 4 trends. First, draw a line that goes up and down showing fluctuations. That's the fluctuating trend. Then, create a line that gradually goes down, representing decreasing. Next, sketch a line that steadily goes up indicating increasing. And finally, draw a straight horizontal line showing staying steady. This activity helps us visualize how different trends behave over time. It's a simple but powerful way to see the patterns that can emerge in data, and it sets the stage for understanding how these core trends influence the bigger picture. Remember, recognizing these patterns is key to making sense of the data and making informed decisions moving forward. Now let's look at this fill-in-the-blank question. It asks us to complete the sentence. The sales figures for Q3 were completely, showing no movement up or down. The key idea here is that the sales remain the same without any increase or decrease. When we describe such a situation, we often use words like fixed, static, constant, stable, steady, or unchanged. These words all convey that there was no fluctuation or variation in the data. In this case, the best choice is stable, because it clearly communicates that the sales figures stayed consistent throughout the period, which is also relevant to our overall theme of understanding trends and how some data can remain steady over time. So, think about how important it is to recognize when data or figures are stable, because this can influence how we interpret business performance and future strategies. Let's look at a key question here. Which verb best describes a slow, continuous rise? Is it climbed or shot up? This is a great way to understand how different verbs convey different types of movement. Now, in the practice question, we see that the price of oil shot up dramatically in the final quarter. That indicates a rapid and significant increase. The example sentence uses shot up, which is a powerful verb. It shows a sudden, sharp jump. On the other hand, words like increased, climbed, grew, and rose suggest more gradual or steady rises. So the main takeaway here is that shot up is used for big, quick jumps, while climbed and the others describe a slower, more gradual trend. Recognizing these differences helps us choose the right verb to match the movement we're describing, which is essential in conveying the right message in our reports and presentations. Now let's take a closer look at this practice question. It asks us to rewrite the sentence, the number of visitors went up a lot, using one of the adverbs we've discussed earlier. The goal here is to choose an adverb that best captures the extent of the increase. For example, instead of just saying went up a lot, we might say the number of visitors increased significantly, or the visitors rose sharply. This helps us communicate more precisely and impactfully. Notice how different adverbs, like rapidly or dramatically, add different shades of meaning to the sentence. Using these adverbs effectively can really strengthen your writing by emphasizing the magnitude of change. Remember, this exercise connects directly to our overall theme of using language to describe data more vividly. By practicing how to replace vague phrases with precise adverbs, we're sharpening our ability to convey trends clearly and convincingly. So, think about which adverb best fits the context of a big increase, and you'll be well on your way to making your reports more compelling. Let's take a look at this slide. First, notice the sentence. The value has fallen sharply since the start of the year. We need to correct the tense here. Since we're talking about a change that started in the past and continues to the present, the correct form is the value has fallen sharply since the start of the year. Now, moving on to the next point, the birth rate has plunged to its lowest level in a decade. This is a significant trend because it highlights a dramatic decline in a key demographic indicator. The word plunged is a powerful verb that vividly conveys just how steep this decline has been. In this context, using strong verbs like declined, dropped, or fallen helps us communicate the magnitude of the change more effectively. Here, plunged emphasizes a rapid and sharp decrease, fitting the overall theme of the Great Fall. So, when we're describing these kinds of trends, choosing the right verb can really strengthen our message. It helps our audience grasp the seriousness and scale of what's happening. Remember, the goal is to connect these points to the broader theme of significant declines, which we've been exploring throughout this presentation. On this slide, I want to highlight how we can describe small changes in data, specifically using the word slightly. When we talk about a temperature dropping over a 24-hour period, saying it decreased slightly helps convey that the change was minor but still noticeable. Similarly, in our practice question, we see that there was a slight decrease in supplement use in October. This subtle word choice is useful because it suggests the change wasn't drastic, but worth noting. In the example sentence, we emphasize using these subtle qualifiers whenever we're describing small or minor decreases. It's important to recognize that words like slightly or slight serve as key qualifiers. They help us communicate the magnitude of change without overstating it. And when we see a great fall, we're talking about a much more significant downward movement. So in summary, these words, slightly, slight, downward, are all part of what we call key qualifiers. They help us present data in a nuanced way, especially when the change isn't large, and they keep our analysis precise and balanced. Fluctuation means the value ends up exactly where it started. So it's when something goes up and down, but in the end, it stays the same. Now, here's a quick question for you. The stock market sales fluctuated wildly over that period. Is that true or false? Think about how the market moves. Sometimes it jumps, sometimes it dips, but overall, it can end up where it began. Let's look at an example. The word wild can mean different things in different contexts. It can mean something that's uncontrolled, or it can describe something that happens a lot, like the market going up and down frequently. Remember our key phrase, fluctuation. It's all about the trend of going back and forth, a kind of wiggle. Think of it as the trend for the wiggle. It's a good way to visualize how things don't just move in one direction. They keep changing, often unpredictably. So when we say the market fluctuates, we mean it's constantly changing, going up, going down, but not necessarily in a straight line. Sometimes the value just wobbles around a certain point, which is exactly what fluctuation is all about. It's important to recognize this pattern because it helps us understand how markets behave over time. Let's look at the key question here. What is the opposite of reached the highest point? Think about terms like bottomed out or declined. These phrases help us understand the concept of moving away from a peak or maximum. Now, focusing on the data, the number of new users actually peaked at 50,000 in January. That means January was our highest point for new users. After that, typically, if we want to describe a decrease from that peak, we might say the numbers declined or dropped. Understanding these opposite concepts, peaking versus declining, helps us analyze trends more clearly. It connects directly to our overall theme of tracking growth and identifying points of maximum achievement versus downturns. So, recognizing these terms, and their implications is crucial in interpreting the data accurately and making informed decisions based on these trends. In this slide, we're focusing on a specific point in our data where the company's profits reached their lowest level. As you can see, the company's profits touched the rock bottom in 2023. This is a key moment because it indicates the worst performance period within that year. When analyzing graphs like this, it's important to identify these extreme points, as they help us understand the challenges faced during that time. Recognizing when the lowest point occurs allows us to investigate what factors contributed to this dip and how we might address similar issues moving forward. Throughout our presentation, we'll look at how the company recovered from this low and what strategies were employed to improve the situation. So, this moment truly marks a critical turning point in our overall story. In this graph, we can see a clear pattern where the values rise sharply at first, indicating a quick increase. Then, the graph reaches a peak and stays steady for a while, showing a period of stability. Finally, it plunges down to its lowest point, reflecting a significant decrease. This overall trend highlights the importance of understanding how data can fluctuate, plateau, and then decline, which ties back to our discussion of different trend patterns and extreme points. Success in IELTS Writing Task 1 is within your reach. Keep practicing your vocabulary. Thank you. Remember, with consistent effort and expanding your vocabulary, you can improve your writing skills significantly. Don't forget, practice makes perfect, and the more you work on your language, the more confident you'll become. I'm confident that with dedication, you'll achieve your goals. Thank you all for your attention and participation throughout this presentation.